we've already played this like a dozen times, so we know the style, but if we were to go on your patterns, some of the things that you're giving us, I don't think it would necessarily be the style that you want us to play.
Sure.
So just try to.
You guys at the beginning.
Kevin, how'd you feel about it?
I thought there was just a wall between.
An out-of-body experience?
I mean, there were times where I felt like I kind of imagining where I wanted to go a different route, where the winds were going with me. But that's just, I think, eye contact is a big help both ways.
If we're Facebook friends, I put on my page the other day, if not, just Google it, YouTube it. There's a brilliant conductor, the conductor of the Pacific Symphony, a guy named Carl Sinclair, S-T-E-C-L-A-I-R. Carl Sinclair did a speech at this innovation technology conference. And he talked about conducting to a bunch of room full of people that aren't musicians, I think, and certainly not conductors. And he had an interesting way of approaching some of this. And it's 10 minutes. I really just encourage you to go take 10 minutes and go look up Carl Sinclair, and it's St. Clair when you spell it. It's called Innovation Whispers was the name of his little talk. And he conducts a little Tchaikovsky. He brought the first violins from the Pacific Symphony with him. And in 3 minutes does a remarkable display of how you can make the same Tchaikovsky melody sound remarkably different. And he used terminology like an outside-out conductor is where he began from. An outside-out conductor knows how to make the 4/4 pattern and can look at the score and make the 4/4 pattern at the right time. But everything's still not inside. You know, the notes really haven't taken. He then talks about when you can learn the score to a level and you can be more comfortable with it, so you can be an inside-out conductor, where you've internalized this, and you've maybe gotten to a level with your repertoire for a recital. Easiest way to relate to this is like that. Think about when you were just trying to survive your tune, and then one day, all of a sudden, it became not about surviving, and you became an inside-out player at that point, as opposed to an outside-out player. Outside-out player is worried about the next couple of notes and rhythms, kind of sighting you. Inside-out player, you've got it, and you can move it through your instrument in a committed kind of way, in a intentional way. Use that word last week, or Tuesday, with symphonic band, playing musically with intent at all times. Then he talked about one more level, where you can inside in communicate as a musician. This goes as a player or as a conductor, where he went one step further with this Tchaikovsky to relate what he knew about the composer. It's particularly this melody, the first theme from his last symphony. And it sounds real happy, but then at the end, he does something. You just have to check it out and watch. And this inside-in stuff is where you can take then what you learn about all the elements of this, combine that with the music that you've learned, internalized, you're able to audiate, you're all able to predict. And then you have this opportunity for clarity. You know, not clarity, it's the wrong word. Communication, realization of music at a really high level. One thing I thought was very interesting, and again, check this out, it's 9.5 minutes. He commented to the room, he asked them if they noticed how he was very rarely with the violins in that circumstance. He's in front of them a lot. We talked about this in here and in different places where really to lead, it's one of the things that's kind of uncomfortable at the beginning of the lab ensemble experience, because it feels like they're dragging sometimes till you get comfortable with that. And you know that, but the reason I brought it up is what Sinclair says is he thinks that if you get sticky with your players, stick-ish, tip-ish, to the point where you're with the anxiety. Okay? He's bringing planes, all that kind of stuff, but you become I, oriented instead of ear oriented. And he very dramatically goes on about how you're just robbing musicians of their, flesh and bone if you take away ear orientation. So lab ensemble is kind of always going to be, at best, inside-out conducting, I suppose. Most common outside-out conducting. Haven't had a whole lot of time. There's just no way, even if, the day Dr. Steele posted this, Kevin, who got score out, been studying since that day, it's still not enough time. So we're in an outside-out or an inside-out kind of level. And that's what I meant sort of by the out-of-body experience. Before you're inside in, you're kind of in an out-of-body experience. I'm conscious of that myself when I'm conscious of myself. I realize after a moment, you can't be conscious of not being conscious of yourself. Follow? The moment you're conscious of not being conscious, then you are conscious. But after the fact, you can look back a moment and go, wait a minute, I was kind of, I was in the zone there for a minute. And again, you can all relate to this as players. If you're thinking about your technique, you're conscious. And you've all experienced this, when you get outside of that, you get beyond the technique, and a few measures pass, and you realize you were not in those moments of technique. You had an inside-out moment, and perhaps an inside-in moment, depending on how much other information you got. Okay? Look at that first note, Mr. Kevin. If that first gesture, think about this like if it was a condensed, if we just switch the score down to a condensed score, and you're going to play this at the piano, it'd be left hand, wouldn't it? Maybe sure. Are these notes above middle C? Are they below middle C?
Yeah. All of them.
What?
All of them.
Yeah, so left hand. This will be your left hand of the piano. Now, bang out those first couple of notes in your mind's eye with your left hand at the piano. You're a percussionist. Put the baton, put the bass beater in your right hand and think about how you play, what that would feel like. Play those first couple of notes on the bass drum. And channel that as stardust, would you? When you get a chance to watch your video, take a look at that compared to the first. Here we go. Now, tell me about the first note. Color. Yeah. Yeah. Pink? No.
Dark.
Yeah. Deep. Purple. Dark brown. Is it heavy or light?
Pretty heavy.
Is it fat or thin? Is it narrow or wide?
Wide.
Yeah. Show us that. None of those are one hand. Right?
Never do.
Right? Just stop a second. Seriously, I want your opinion. You don't have to disagree with me.
Okay.
But don't you agree?
I agree, we just never do it.
Who's we? You and the mouse in your pocket?
Exactly. No, and we haven't done a lot of mirroring or anything.
Well, I didn't know you had a mirror.
It's two hands.
I just told you to offer these guys a hug.
Okay.
You know?
Right.
One of the great joys of the world, I get to go home and little Jenny and Allie come running across the kitchen. And I get to go like this. And they knock me over. No matter what happens during the day, that's a good thing. There's sound that they give you is a blessing from the gods. And it's a good thing. And open up for it. How you feel about it?
It sounded better.
Outside out, or inside in?
Inside out. Second.
He said with a question mark at the end.
I didn't watch the 10-minute video. Second one.
So I guess I can explain it well, which is a fair statement. I'm Bill Carl Sinclair. Group, you think he was outside out, or inside in? They don't know either. Thought he was inside out? They're very generous. They're very generous. What do you think would be the difference between outside out and inside out? From a visual standpoint or a mental standpoint, Eric?
Maybe you're still looking down every couple bars, and I don't think the notes matter as much, because like you know the shape of the phrase, you're going to hear it. So I think maybe look around, especially when someone else enters, or because it's a very intense moment. You want to be making eye contact and looking around.
One thing is experience you know, you're a percussionist, but you played a little bit of brass through your learning at school. This is very fun to play to me. You know, as you get more experience, you'll learn how to gauge that stuff for the instrument that's not your own. You know, so I think get in that spirit of this stuff. You know, I was just talking with Steele. I get to go to Washington State in a couple of days and guest conduct the Ives Variations on America. You know that piece? Ives Variations on America. It's very cool. What's interesting about it is it's this "My Country 'Tis of Thee," you know, tune, all tricked out. Charles Ives. He wrote it when he was 16/17 years old on the organ. I've done a little research the last couple of days. Did not know that. 16 or 17 years old. Wrote it in the organ where he played for his family's church, and he wrote it literally to crack up his buddies. He was trying to make the buddies in the church, which worked. I mean, there's "My Country 'Tis of Thee" and be like in two different keys at the same time. And there's Bach versions, and there's a little Polonaise version, and there's a Latin version with castanets and stuff. And it's fascinating. And it just changed my whole perspective on it when I read and learned that this was a 16-year-old, 17-year-old brilliant boy trying to make his buddies laugh. So I'm going to do the best I can to use that information to help me conduct inside out or inside in. And I'll bet we'll talk about that just a little bit. This group that's playing, you know, just don't ever forget. When in doubt, channel your 17-year-old boy trying to make his buddies laugh. When you're playing Charles Ives Variations on America. Maybe not the perspective to play music for profit. Right? Totally different. I'll leave you alone for a little bit. You got some plan? Because these are big concepts, Kevin. This is not like lab band stuff, but you know, you guys are all so brilliant. It's the end of the semester. So we can get past some of the monotonous stuff. This is more important than where your elbow and your pinky is. It really is. It's much more fun, I think. It's more interesting. And it takes a lifetime. It just takes a lifetime. I'm watching Carl Sinclair and it just blew my mind the other day. Wow. He's saying some things that I've felt but not been able to articulate and didn't understand. And it made sense to me. It might make sense for some of you in the room, might not. But somebody else will say it a different way that might make sense someday. So let's use some of the time doing what we like to do. You want to give us a plan? That's great.
Mind if less rehearsal time, just another run?
It's your show.
And that's what we've been talking about in mind. Just
You want to try?
yep.
Okay. Be daring. Don't try to be musical. Don't worry about it.
guys up and you were actively doing pickups and stuff, the one thing that kind of bothered me a little bit was that you kind of kept the same expression on your face the entire way through. So you can do a little bit more with the facial expression as opposed to just waving the baton everywhere.
Who are you talking to?